The child's voice came from under the stone floor, clear, close, whispering my name as if it already knew me. I froze, one foot hovering over the broken tiles of the old Belgian monastery. The air was so cold my breath plumed in front of me, each exhale a ghost in the gloom. Dust motes, ancient and undisturbed, danced in the slivers of light piercing the collapsed roof. It wasn't a sound that stopped me, but the opposite, a profound, unnatural silence, the kind of quiet that feels heavy, like it's pressing in on you from all sides, waiting for you to break it. Every instinct screamed that I was an intruder here, trespassing on a history that didn't want to be disturbed. This place wasn't on any tourist trail, it was a forgotten footnote in the Ardennes. My search for the abandoned and the overlooked had led me to a dimly lit tavern in Dinan, where I was asking about local legends, places the guidebooks ignored. An old man, his face a roadmap of wrinkles, overheard me. He didn't speak at first, just watched me with eyes that held a deep-seated weariness. Finally, he beckoned me over, and with a trembling hand he scribbled a crude map on a stained napkin. He pushed it across the sticky table as if passing on a burden.
"There are places man is meant to forget," he'd rasped, his voice low and gravelly, barely a whisper above the tavern's hum. He leaned in, the smell of tobacco and something else, something like fear, clinging to him. "Don't stay after dusk," he warned. "Sound travels strangely there. It changes. It finds you."
His words echoed in my mind now, mocking my arrogance. Dusk was still hours away, but the shadows in the monastery were already long and distorted, clinging to the crumbling walls like living things. I lowered my foot, the crunch of tile under my boot sounding like a gunshot in the oppressive stillness. The old man's warning wasn't just a piece of local folklore, it was a premonition. Deep in a quiet, almost forgotten stretch of the Ardennes forest, the monastery ruin sat alone. It wasn't just old, it felt ancient, a skeleton of stone and faith slowly being reclaimed by nature. Thick ivy, like green veins, strangled the walls, and in many places the structure had surrendered entirely, collapsing into mounds of rubble. But as I stepped out of my car and the engine's hum died, the silence that replaced it was profound. It wasn't empty. The air felt held, heavy with unspoken history, as if the entire place was a lung holding its breath, waiting, listening. I felt a prickle on my skin, the distinct, unnerving sensation of being an intruder in a place that had long grown accustomed to its solitude. With my camera in hand, I began to explore. I wandered through the old stone corridors, my footsteps echoing softly against the damp flagstones. The architecture, though worn by centuries of wind and rain, was still magnificent. I found myself taking photos of everything. The elegant curve of a vaulted ceiling that remained impossibly intact, the intricate carvings on a fallen pillar, the way golden light pierced through a high, shattered window, illuminating dancing dust motes like tiny spirits. Each frame felt like capturing a ghost. With every step deeper into the labyrinthine structure, the feeling of being watched intensified, a constant invisible pressure at the back of my neck. I was about to turn back, the fading light signaling the end of the day, when I noticed it, a doorway smaller than the others, almost completely hidden behind a tapestry of overgrown ivy. It wasn't grand or imposing, just a simple low arch leading into darkness. Curiosity, or perhaps something else, pulled me toward it. Pushing aside the thick leafy curtain, I peered into a small, still chamber. That's when I found the old playroom. Children's carvings scratched into the walls, bits of decayed wooden toys, a tiny wool doll so old its head was just a lump. A monastery with a children's room didn't make sense. I was still thinking about that when the floor beneath me shifted, a muffled thump from below. Then came the voice, a soft, breathy whisper rising between the cracks. "Hello?" My body seized. No child should have been down there. There was no down there. The place had no basement. I knelt, pressing my ear to the cold stone. You came back. My heart punched my ribs. I didn't move. When I finally stepped back outside to catch air, the wind slipped through the broken arches, carrying tiny echoes that sounded like laughter, children's laughter. I told myself it was the acoustics. Old structures can play tricks. But then something else happened. On the far end of the corridor, the little wool doll I had seen earlier was now sitting upright, facing me, perfectly centered. I hadn't touched it. I should have left then. I really should have. Instead, I found myself wandering deeper, following faint sounds that grew clearer the further I went. Small footsteps, whispers, giggling, dozens of tiny voices moving ahead of me just out of sight. I stopped and pulled out my phone. No signal. Even the compass app spun uselessly. Then I stepped into the central chamber. A large circular room, roof open to the sky, moss-covered floor, and one strange thing. A trapdoor, ancient wood, carved with children's names, as if dozens of little hands had scratched their identities into it over centuries. The air in the chamber was heavy, thick with the smell of damp earth and something else, something ancient and forgotten. My hand trembled as it hovered over the iron ring of the trapdoor. I was about to commit, to finally pull it open and face whatever lay beneath. The silence was absolute, a pressure against my eardrums. I took a final steadying breath, my fingers brushing against the cold, rusted metal. But before I could kneel, a sound rose from the depths. It wasn't a voice this time, not like the whispers I'd heard before. This was a low, steady hum that vibrated up through the stone floor and into the soles of my feet. A lullaby. Wordless and unnervingly soothing, it seemed to promise peace in a place that only knew decay. The melody was simple, ancient, and profoundly wrong. It felt like a memory that wasn't mine, a comforting lie whispered in the dark. My resolve to open the door wavered, replaced by a primal urge to cover my ears and run. And then another sound joined the haunting tune, a dry, rhythmic scraping from the shadows behind me. I turned, my heart hammering against my ribs. From somewhere deep within the ruins, the nearest toy, a small wooden horse with one wheel missing, began to roll toward me. It wasn't falling or sliding. It was moving with purpose, scraping a jagged line across the stone floor, drawn by the subterranean melody as if on an invisible string. It was an invitation or a summons. If you're enjoying this story, subscribe for more unsettling tales from around the world. "Are you still there?" the child whispered through the floor, closer, like their mouth was right against the wood. Against every instinct I answered, "What do you want?" There was a pause, a shift, as if more than one child pressed their ears to the floor at once. "Come play." My breath caught. Then a tiny knock from beneath the trapdoor. Knock, knock, knock. Soft, rhythmic, childlike. I staggered back, nearly tripping over a cracked stone. I ran then, out the corridor, past the arches, past the forest edge. I didn't stop until I reached my car. Only once I slammed the door shut did I dare look back at the monastery. The place looked empty again, silent, just stones and vines. But as I turned the key, the radio crackled to life, despite being switched off. A child's voice whispered through the static, "You forgot your toy." I looked down. On the passenger seat sat the wool doll, not decayed anymore, not ancient, fresh, new, like it had been sewn yesterday. I didn't bring it with me, I know that, and yet it's still in my house. And at night sometimes I hear little knocks coming from under the floor.